Hello everyone, my name is Anthony Salas, and on behalf of the American Marketing Association, I'd like to welcome you to today's webcast sponsored by Quantcast entitled Performance Targeting, Understanding and Leveraging New Innovation for Marketing Success. We here at the AMA provide you with this webcast as one of the many special programs we offer to the marketing community, and we invite you to participate in this ongoing series of free web seminars to help you drive the greatest return on your marketing investment, whether it's in research, advertising, promotions, social media, and beyond. Our webcasts offer education in all key areas of marketing. So make sure to join us every week for our informative thought leader webcast featuring some of the most expert minds in marketing. You can get more information about this by going to marketingpower.com/webcast for information and enrollment. And before we do get started today, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. Today's webcast is being recorded and will be made available to you within a week of the presentation. If you have any technical or content-related questions, you do have a chat box located to the left of your viewing screen. Please enter them there. And any content questions will be addressed after the presentation, and technical questions will be addressed immediately upon receipt. And as a reminder too, we are also on Twitter today during our presentation. You can join that conversation by going to #Quantcast. With that, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our speaker for today. We have Scott Linzer, who is the head of search agency development. And at Quantcast, Scott is charged with educating search marketers and their agencies about the evolution of real-time bidding platforms and how they can be complements to search. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and turn things over to Scott to get things started.
Thank you, Anthony, and welcome everybody, and happy Friday. When I looked at the attendee list, I was so excited by the companies, both large and small, attending this. So thank you very much for your time. I know in truth it's a lot of time to dedicate for stuff like this, and we'll try to make it a time well spent. The essence of this presentation today is really talk about the core strategies that I have seen and we have seen at Quantcast that frankly is really crucial for marketing success in the future. And with that said, I'll go through some high-level agenda topics that we'll be covering. First is we'll be giving you just a little bit of an introduction to ourselves and what we do. I will then sort of elaborate on current digital trends. What are we seeing in the space today? What are the hot topics that people engage us to solve? And we'll also then leverage those learnings into future trends. It's important in this day and age to not only understand where we have been, but frankly educate marketers on what they should be focusing on. It's a great time, better than ever, with respect to holiday planning or 2013 planning, to really discuss what are the future trends that people are talking about. And then finally, I will summarize it for you again, some key focus points that really we have seen. And at the end of the day, I really hope this is a good use of your time. So a little bit about us at Quantcast. First and foremost is people know us, and we've been around for over 6 years as an audience measurement vehicle. What that means is we really do groundbreaking direct measurement insight, and we do that for sites, publishers, networks, and advertisers of any size. And one of the really amazing things is that this is 100% free for everyone, and it's really leveraged Quantcast as a major resource for insights and information. We then complement that with ad targeting services. And so really what we do is the most advanced real-time ad targeting. And we'll talk about this, but we also do what's called full funnel capabilities. And that includes working with brands and branding campaigns against leading publishers and networks. And we're also talking about performance campaigns through integrated real-time bidding through an ad targeting platform. And finally is that one of the intriguing things about us at Quantcast is that we have different pricing arrangements, and that could be everything from a CPM or a CPA model. The CPA model is we're going to spend some extra time really talking about, because it's the CPA that has really been making the difference for the marketers and the agencies that we work with. And as such, it really needs some time and care and attention so that we can strategically position it correctly, and likewise you can strategically position it with respect to your management or your clients. And finally, is really our goal is really to just create high performance campaigns based on those insights and advanced targeting options. We're going to take you a little bit through how that kind of works, and I hope that you get some learnings out of that. When we talk about Quantcast, one of the things that frankly sets us apart is really about data. We really believe that using the largest real-time media consumption data really lets us understand your best customers, and frankly allows us to find millions more like them. A little bit of history is that we have about 100 million sites that actually use the Quantcast tag and actually are directly measured through our service. What this allows us to do is actually see all 240 million U.S. online consumers, and really what we are able to do is actually model them, and actually stack rank is a word we use here, which is really to say who is the most appropriate fit out of that 240 million for your clients or your marketers' products or services. And this number is pretty incredible, and that is the amount of actual events, consumption events that we see. It could be browsing an article, could be actually purchasing something, but we actually see 16 billion events through our tags every given day. So it's just an amazing amount of information that we can see about audience consumption and what activities they do online. One of the things I wanted to do is make sure we recap our session last month, and Chris Martellotti here at Quantcast did a great job with respect to understanding the framework and some of the basics about real-time bidding. So I just want to cover some of the high-level points that we touched on with respect to that. The first point is really when we talk about real-time bidding, it's really to partner with companies that have the breadth in data, and data is so key with respect to real-time bidding, so that they can effectively scale and integrate both this data and this targeting in real time. The second point is that it really becomes a major impact when we can do this at a truly granular level. We can actually see the online behavior and then frankly target the right ads at the right time to that individual. And the third point, and this is perhaps one of the biggest points that we'll sort of talk through today, is that really we need to focus on pricing and optimization directly on that actual value. And really what that means is when we do something through a real-time exchange, does it actually have a value associated with it? Can we attribute to that success? That's one of the major pundits or exciting things about online advertising in this day and age, is that can we actually determine what the actual value is for those impressions? So let's talk about some current trends and insights. First, we have a polling question for you, and Anthony, if you don't mind asking the question.
Yep, absolutely. So as everyone can see, the question up on the screen right now is, what do you consider your highest performing marketing channel? You have your answer options of search, display, mobile, social, and affiliate. So if you'll click on the radio button next to the response that you would like to submit, click that submit button and we will register those, and you should see those results coming in on your screen as you respond. Give this just a few more seconds, so if you haven't responded, please go ahead and do so. And we'll close the poll in about 5 seconds. And looks like we're going to go ahead and close the poll now, and everyone should see the results there on your screen. I'll turn it back over to Scott so he can go over the results.
Thank you so much for putting this in. This is something that we see and obviously makes sense, and obviously is a great framework to what we see with respect to trends. And it also, for me, really makes sure that we talk to the right audience. And I'm very encouraged. I see also a pretty good I guess, broad swath of also, not only is it search, but you also see performance and display and mobile, social, and affiliate. So again, very awesome to see. When we look at these insights, very similar to what you got on, we see success against many channels. And based on that, there's just high demand on all of these initiatives to drive more, whether it's sales or traffic. I've never seen, at this day and age, just so much demand on online and what it can produce. And one of the things that we certainly have seen, and I've seen as well, is that it's really becoming an increasingly a biddable world. Obviously, search has been around for many years and has been a great driver of success. And one of the key reasons of it was being biddable. And in this day and age it's amazing to see the amount of things that are biddable and will continue to be biddable as this innovates. When we see other companies and ourselves, one of the things that I'm sure we all can agree with is that there's just a tremendous amount of innovation this year across the industry. I think that based on even appearing at SES the last few days, I see more than ever people really trying to solve marketing problems online. I see people trying to exploit niches where they can find audiences and drive performance. And I think that's just great. And it's an exciting time at this day and age to see this innovation that continues. And marketers, we understand this, is that marketers are more than ever attempting to understand channel integration, how all these pieces fit together, what does search, how does it interact with display or social, etc. And it's a huge challenge in the industry. We acknowledge that, and we'll kind of talk about some very core concepts that hopefully will help you guys through that. One of the things that when we see all the different initiatives that are available in online today is frankly just a very simplistic stat from eMarketer, which really in its simplest form says when we really talk about what's going to be the space in 2016, it's still going to be search and display. And it's going to be about close to 90% of marketers' digital budgets. And that makes sense. It's really how do you target appropriately for the percent of traffic that are actually searching for your brands, and then what do you use to then prospect? How do you attract more people to actually shop for you or look for you? When we look at trends in search marketing, one of the things that we can all acknowledge is that search continues to be the core driver of engagement for marketers. I think we all can acknowledge that pretty well. One of the things we have also seen when we speak to marketers or agencies is we have seen in many cases cost per click price increases, and that's especially in the non-branded or generic query space. One of the things that we have seen across several clients is that they have seen pretty huge and sizable cost per click increases that have really challenged them to actually see the efficiency in their non-branded search campaigns. And as Google and Bing keep innovating, it's also the onus on the marketers and the agencies to keep up with all this innovation. If Google launches a new algorithm update or they launch a new product, it really is challenging for the marketers and the agencies to make sure that it's kept up with all this innovation that goes on. And one simple question really comes to mind, which is every marketer is always looking for this golden rule, which is how do I get more and how do I get more cost effectively? When you look at the trends in display marketing, one of the things that has been a very hot topic and has certainly been making a difference for several marketers is a focus on retargeting, which hopefully drives second chance conversions. If we did not get a conversion, do we have an opportunity to leverage remarketing to drive it for another chance? Also, Facebook there's huge opportunities that we have seen with respect to social integration, and with the recent Facebook announcement about their real-time bidding platform, you clearly can see is that social media is now understanding what can be done at a performance basis, and that'll be sort of interesting to see how it evolves over time. Exchanges, and we spoke about exchanges as I alluded to in our last session, really can offer attractive buying opportunities if done correctly. And we'll talk about this, but it's certainly been a major trend that we've been seeing in the world today. And really and this is one of the things that Quantcast has really been able to leverage, is really how do we create these opportunities to leverage display even at a cost per acquisition basis. To me, being a search marketer in my past, it's been amazing to see that display companies, and Quantcast being one of them, can do this, because that's always been something that we've always been looking for, and it's so nice to see in 2012. One question still remains, though, and this again is another very important question, is will I as the marketer or the agency be able to target these prospects cost effectively? And we're going to talk a little bit about this, and we understand that this is still a major issue and a conundrum in the market, but we'll take you through some scenarios. When we talk about the funnel and how these segments are really being targeted and how it kind of works today, we've really been seeing a few issues. We're going to take you through a few of them. One being in the upper funnel, which is really what we've seen, is that inconsistent and stale third-party data, so cookies and the activities of what the user actually does, can actually lead to waste and create missed opportunities, and we have seen that with some of the marketers we work with. Additionally, in the lower funnels that we've also seen, targeting, it can only really target the site visitors, and it limits the scale. If I drive traffic but I'm not able to build the prospects, I'm really limited to frankly the marketing I can do. And then we've seen some issues in optimization. Sometimes in many cases there's no ability to apply insights in real time. At Quantcast, we feel we've really have answered all three of these, and we'll take you through each one of these, but we acknowledge that these are still trends and things we see in the industry. So a simple question really still exists, which is many marketers still ask the basic question of what's working, and more importantly, what else can I do? What else is out there that I should be thinking about when I think about the holidays or I think about 2013? What else should I be evaluating? And the reason they ask a lot of these questions is we understand is that measuring the path to a conversion can be extremely complex, and we showed this also in our last session, which is when we talk about the ecosystem of marketing today, you have a huge combination of either display or search. In many cases, that journey is complex, and additionally, there are many touch points to how somebody may find your product or service and actually make a purchase. We understand that, and we're going to take you through some tips we've seen to hopefully make that make sense for you all. This will lead us to our next question for Anthony, please.
Excellent. So our next polling question here is, how integrated are your online marketing efforts, and particularly in display? So again, you have your answer options there. You've got very integrated, somewhat integrated, and not integrated. So if you'll just select one of the three options there, click on your submit button, and that will register your response there. We are continuing to see lots of responses coming in, so we'll give this just a few more seconds. If you haven't already responded, please do so. In the next 5, we'll be closing the poll here shortly. And I'll go ahead and close the poll here now. And again, turn it back over to Scott for the results.
Thank you very much, and I really appreciate this feedback. This is great to see, and also is pretty similar to you know, what we also see in the world today. So thank you for doing that. One of the things that we have seen, and this is an interesting stat that was released by Forrester in June, which is that we've seen that 44% of interactive marketers don't have processes in place to assign any credit. And I really highlight the word any. because it's so important. And they can't assign any credit to their efforts, and it really indicates that an adoption of attribution has incredible room for improvement. This is something that we all work with agencies and marketers to do, and I think it's going to be a huge hot topic in the future, and we'll kind of go through some scenarios. When we looked at research about it, we acknowledge that when you have all of these online opportunities or all these channels available, and they range from obviously email all the way through mobile, all of these channels have the opportunity for conversion. We referred to a study I saw in e-consultancy also in June, which is frankly the same question we asked you all, which is how would they say they're integrated with respect to this, and they sampled a large amount of marketers as well. And it's pretty interesting in how similar the responses are compared to what we took in the poll here. What I wanted to call out was display. And this is certainly what we think is going to be so pivotal for 2013 and the future, which is how can display be properly attributed so that we can integrate that as a success channel and not as a standalone channel. We work with many marketers to help them navigate a very challenging space. So we should all acknowledge that it's still a hot topic and still will continue to be something that we all work together with. When I summarize sort of the current trends, kind of what we've seen is the first point again is that reliance on online advertising is critical for many to achieve their business goals. Second is that search, while consistently a top performer, is still facing some challenges, and that can be especially attributed to a loss of either organic rankings or expensive keywords in the non-branded search space. And third is what we certainly see is display is becoming an attractive strategy, but it must be done correctly, and we'll talk about that. And finally, it really is about being able to show how all these online efforts interrelate, and in many cases it can be elusive for many marketers. So let's give you some trends to consider for the future. There are 6 key themes that we have come about that we think are going to be very important for the future, and especially in 2013, and we'll go through each one in detail. The first one is really about data, and it's really about leveraging your data to understand your digital marketing and what it really has the power to do. The second one is finding the balance between acquiring new customers and retaining the current ones. So it's really about who are your loyalists versus who are your prospects. How do you achieve that proper balance? The third point, and this has been something that's been around for a very long time, is optimization. How do you optimize your websites for conversions? We'll take you through, because more than ever in either a macroeconomic condition or just in general, we've seen a huge need for agencies and marketers, again, to really refocus their efforts on what's actually producing return through their own websites. The next point is aligning budgets, and this is something we have seen is how can budgets be better aligned to maximize the potential performance gains. And the next point is how do we adjust specifically performance media for seasonality? And we'll give you a pretty detailed scenario with a sample marketer that does that. And finally, the last point is really utilize the experts. What we have seen is that there's just a lot of expertise in the space, and it really is on the onus on the marketer or the agency to really make sure that you have the right level of expertise so that you can execute correctly against this plan. When we look at the digital journey, again, if we look this slide, we know it's obviously very complex, as we alluded to, but there are some key things that hopefully you can see eventually, which is how does search and display interact together? When somebody sees a display ad and views it, but later they do a search and they convert, are you able to see that? Are you able to make sure that the attributes of the display and the search align to a story that you can see that display in fact created a search query? These are very important things that we think will help you understand your marketing better. In certain cases, we've even seen where search is not used, and maybe just display. Again, it's making sure that can you understand the amount of times, for instance, the amount of touch points in display that it takes for you to drive a conversion. And these are all things that we have seen where clients are getting more sophisticated to understand where this harmony or this balance really works. When we talk about attribution, and we reference something that we saw and worked with in Forrester, is there are a few different ways that marketers are understanding attribution today. One is one that's been around for a while, which is either the first event or the last event. So was it your last search click, or was it your first display click or your first display view? Many cases we still see this in this day and age, and that's fine, but we also understand there are more powerful models that now can be leveraged. And this is the notion of fractional credit. And within that notion, there are two attribution models. One is rules-based, and that's where we have seen marketers say if I had 3 display ads served and 1 search ad served, and then the user converts, can I divide that equally, 25% credit for each? In many cases we have seen that, and it really helps, I think, align a story correctly to understand how all these channels interrelate. We've even seen advertisers take it to an entirely new level through regression analysis, and actually understanding very mathematically is at an algorithm level, how many display ads did I serve, who was that audience I served them to, how much did I pay for those ads, and really what they are doing is they are backing into a numerical model that really says, and it's very sophisticated, that really says when we talk about attribution and all these channels working together, that they are very sophisticated and they can actually see how every channel really works with each other. So it does run the gamut when we talk about attribution. We understand that. And a key question that I make sure that you guys can answer when you think about 2013 is, while there are really different ways to attribute success, what is in fact the best way for your business? It may be one of these, it may not be. But what also can you see now, and then what do you aspire to see later? One of the things that I think more than ever is the more you can understand your digital journey, the more effective your marketing can be. Against the second point, which is really finding balance of new or existing customers, search is a great example of how this lays out. I use brand keywords as one example, which are excellent for navigational searches, so people looking for a brand can find you very quickly. They're great for brand protection so that your competitors can't bid above you, for instance, on your brand term. And finally, as we all acknowledge, it really is a key conversion touch point. When someone looks for you, there's a higher propensity, obviously, for them to take an action. So it's great for existing customers. It's great for people who understand your brand. When you talk about new customers, or you talk about prospecting, when you really look at it, generic keywords are excellent, or can be an excellent use for prospecting and finding new customers. Sometimes they're leveraged to create awareness. They ideally can find consumers who navigate through search to a purchase, but many times, as I alluded to before, is they often can be expensive and highly competitive. So it's very important when marketers leverage generic keywords is to make sure they can be leveraged efficiently, because it's obviously very competitive, because in many cases a lot of people are seeking the same buyer. So a key question again remains, which is, for you, do non-brand keywords work? In certain cases they may, but maybe not all the times. And again, if they do work, but do they prospect the right people that drive your business? Do you have insight to say that non-branded keywords, in fact, are an important part of my marketing programs? Very good questions that to make sure you ask for the future. The third point is about optimize your website, and I put the word again because it's always something that is going to be a topic, which is how does the marketer focus on the conversion? What are the things that you as the marketer are going to do to make sure that that page or that conversion path is going to be optimized so that you can get as many conversions as possible? The second, is the conversion window different across your marketing channels? Are you able to see that a display purchaser is different than a search purchaser? Are you able to see that mobile is different from social? In many cases, it is so important for you to understand how a conversion interrelates to the actual marketing you are using. The third point is, if possible, conduct multivariate testing. It is really helpful. I've seen it work across many clients when they can test different elements of a conversion page, be it page layouts or fields or buttons. As many as can be done really can, in fact, make a performance difference on your website. And one of the key points, again, is understanding how prospecting and retargeting works with your conversion funnel. Do you have to serve a different page for your prospects versus the people you retarget? Is your website set up to do that correctly? So a key question that we use for this is, do you understand what works on your conversion page? Do you know, in fact, who converts better? If you're able to understand these questions, it's certainly going to make your marketing more effective. The fourth point is about budgets. And it's so important with respect to what we're seeing in 2013 is that when you look at budgets, usually we'd see a core paid search budget that's always on and is either planned yearly or planned quarterly. And it's meant to be defensible. In other words, it's meant to be effective as a source of marketing. Sometimes there's incremental budget on top of it, but at the end of the day, it really was driving the bottom line for advertising online. Above that, there may be elements that can be tested. So we'd see budgets in social, in video targeting, in mobile, and those are good initiatives to understand, can you actually drive more prospects through these test opportunities? And then lastly, we saw models that were CPM, and this is as I continue to prospect against the funnel and look for more people on my products and services, can I leverage CPM to do that? What we really have seen is in 2013 is there's going to be a tremendous amount of activity that's really going to be aligned against CPA targeting. And this is something that we've been working with marketers with, which is there a layer of efficiency that can be maneuvered between a core paid budget and other online activities? And so our recommendation has been to marketers is when you start thinking about how to budget appropriately, make sure you take the time and attention to weigh your efforts against what is going to drive the most efficiency and going to drive the best result for your marketing. So a key question is, are you in fact able to align and maximize those budgets against performance objectives? If you are able to do that, there's a great opportunity, hopefully, that you and agencies can drive significantly better and more cost-effective traffic for you. The fifth point is really talking about seasonality. A sample we use here is with a marketer, where they traditionally, and this is a retail client, for instance, where they see volumes that can be really sort of flat starting out through the year, but peak up around Mother's Day and Father's Day. And then in many cases they will drop. They'll drop during the summer, and then they'll pick up during back to school, and then obviously they pick up for the holidays. When we work with this marketer, one of the things that originally we discussed was with an always-on CPA campaign was it should be a flat level. In other words, it should be a certain payout all throughout the year based on their calendar. And what we now have seen is that display really can be maneuvered, and display through cost per acquisition really can be maneuvered seasonal, so a few things can occur. One is that we can even pace, and we work with marketers who may not have huge seasonal influxes, and so they may be even pacing with respect to their marketing. And next is maximize the peaks. If you know that there's going to be higher conversion opportunities during your high seasons, maximize the peaks. It's a great opportunity to leverage CPA to maximize those opportunities to drive even more business for yourself. Finally is mitigate the down season. And what I mean by this is if you have a slower season like this marketer does, can the cost per acquisition goals be adjusted so that if search volume goes down just based on the seasonality, do we have to prospect more, and can we in fact use cost per acquisition to actually drive volume that frankly search would have not? One of the important things I just want to make sure is that we have for you is really to make sure we differentiate CPM and CPA. So CPA, when we refer to that, is cost per acquisition, and it's a key component of performance. And CPM, which is really cost per impression buying. So when we work with marketers, it really makes sense to understand what is the most effective way to navigate a seasonal spend or even your yearly goals, which is what can be done at a CPM level versus what can be done at a cost per acquisition level. When we put this all together, it's a great example of what can be done in 2013, which is how do you leverage performance so you maximize your high potential volumes, as well as how do you control where it could be seasonal and you see less impact in search. Many marketers that we have been working with are working through this model, and it will be a great and impactful thing, we believe, for their next year in budgets. The final point is really about leveraging the experts, and that is understand what you as the marketer can manage. What can you as the marketer manage by yourself, and what can you manage through your team? And just as importantly, what cannot be managed? It's a lot of there's so much fast-moving technology innovation. We understand that many marketers just don't have the capabilities to understand it. Leverage the experts to understand how this all could fit together. Engage with the proper partners to help you with your advertising challenges. Quantcast is one example of a company that does this with our clients, because there is so much with respect to real-time bidding or insight and measurement that we help marketers understand their business challenges and, more appropriately, how we can target prospects for them effectively. The last point, and we go back to the funnel, is when we discussed the issues with segmented targeting, it's also important to understand what can be done in performance targeting. And these are scalable solutions that work against the consumer journey. So when we talk about performance targeting, our area of expertise is really about building customized models that fit the proper audience and hit hopefully the right ad at the right time with the right message. We don't talk about segments against the funnels, because really what we talk about are the segments of one. And what that means is actually making sure that we can target the proper people as opposed to where they are actually in the buying process by a site. The next point is really, it's about not occurring for nonlinear behavior. And what we mean for that is this consumer journey can take many pivotal parts, as we see it sort of on the right side of the funnel. They can go up and down that funnel at any time as they look for information, as they look for reviews, and frankly as they buy. Is understand that performance targeting can help navigate when somebody goes through that mix. And finally, real-time feedback. Is the data allowed to provide that real-time feedback so you can see what works? And then if somebody does buy, are you able to mimic it against other people who may be also likely to buy against this purchase journey. So some key summary points I want to leave you with today is, in the first one is think about your future marketing plans. Please consider is that it's how to align your efforts to both prospect and retain as many conversions as possible. When we speak about performance marketing, this is the first and foremost goal, which is how do I drive existing people and convert them and make them loyalists, as well as how do I prospect correctly to ensure that I can even drive more people to my business or service. The next point is ensuring that there's a methodology in place to properly assess attribution in your digital channels. We spoke to it, and there are a few different instances we gave you. What we certainly think for your marketing is important to push as much as you can that column to be very integrated in your poll, because that will really help you understand how performance marketing can work for your marketing efforts. And finally, this is something that I spoke with a client about just a few days ago, which is we all aspire to look for our game changer. And one of the things that I always challenge marketers and agencies is what is out there? What are the things that you think or you would like to test to be a game changer? Is it a cost per acquisition initiative? Is it something in the social space? Is it something in the mobile space? One of the things that more than ever when we talk about marketing and being utilized correctly is really seek out your game changer to drive out that incremental opportunity, because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. And with that said, I thank you so much for your time. We will open it up for some questions, and again, thank you very much for your time and attention.
Great. Thanks so much, Scott. A lot of great information shared, and certainly appreciate all the time that you put into that. We do have some great questions that have come in, and just a reminder to everyone, if you have any additional questions, you can still enter those using that chat feature to the left of your viewing screen, and we will do our best to get to as many of these as possible before we do end the webcast. So we'll kind of jump into some questions here. I'm going to start off with one, opens with kind of a statement and then the question followed, Scott. This person is stating that they are seeing very high CPCs on non-branded keywords, and their question is, how can they change their media mix to better address this?
Thank you for that question. We have seen, this alludes to an earlier point, is that we certainly have seen some trends that indicate that higher cost per clicks in non-branded keywords are really causing marketers to consider what can be done. And one of the things that we talk to marketers about is to say, if perhaps they can bid more strategically on non-brand terms, but utilize a tactic like cost per acquisition marketing to offset those leads. So for instance, and use the terms is, if I am selling golf clubs, do I bid on that word golf clubs because it drives business for me? But in certain cases, it may drive business for me at a negative ROI. What we work with marketers to say is perhaps we could use performance display to drive conversions so they could bid more effectively on the term golf clubs, or frankly not have to bid on that term. And a good example is they could bid on golf clubs and they could day part it, so it's only serving at certain times of the day, which is a better use of their budget. They can geo-target that term, which also is an efficient use of their budget. So in many cases we have worked with marketers so that we can actually lower their potential cost per clicks because they don't have to rely on generic or non-branded terms to prospect, and they frankly can use technologies through Quantcast to make up that difference. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. And let's see, next question here is, can you suggest or give any examples of the best tools for reliable attribution tracking?
It's a great question, and the answer is there are so many out there today. And one of the things I would advise to the marketer, there's no question, is so important in this day and age to have a third-party ad server platform so that you can properly track and assess your marketing initiatives. And it's also, I think it behooves the marketer to evaluate what is the best platform for their particular needs, what makes the most sense for their marketing, is frankly what makes the most sense for their budgets. And while we don't have a preference, one of the things we certainly can say is that it certainly is imperative to have a third-party ad server if they want to make sure they have an integrated story for their marketing.
Excellent. Thanks so much. And let's see, moving on to the next one here. How about any sort of suggestions on what would be the most effective measures that someone can take to optimize their site for conversions? Yeah,
this is a great question. What we discuss, or what we'll strategize with marketers or agencies, and this is a key point I alluded to, which is it is very important, if possible, to see how the digital ecosystem lives with that landing page. Again, the reference that I made is if somebody finds your landing page through display, do they have a different propensity to convert as opposed to somebody who comes to your page through search? In certain cases, what we have seen is that a search click actually needs more information on that page. Perhaps it's a little bit more information about your product or services because they're truly seeking you. In certain cases with display, it really depends on, is that content match up to the promotion that they want to promote through the display ad. So one of the things when we talk about website optimization is it's really making sure that those pages perform at an optimal level. If we can see that a marketer drives more cost-effective conversions through that page at a higher percentage, it's an incredible opportunity to not only be more efficient with your marketing, but then use that as a new test platform to see what other opportunities can be driven through that conversion page. So I encourage, when we talk about 2013, is really to see what can be done so that we can make those pages even more effective.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And next question here is probably a good one for kind of the time of year and kind of looking ahead here, and has to do with seasonal business. So the question is, are there any special planning considerations that someone should consider in regards to seasonal business?
Yeah, it goes also, it's very similar to the last question, so thank you for that, is that when conversion rates may be at their highest, perhaps because of purchasing activity or a product and market, it makes sense to really assess the marketing mix and leverage search. So perhaps there should be a higher propensity to advertise on more terms, or there's a higher propensity to use CPM or CPA-based initiatives to drive traffic. One of the things that we always want to make sure is that when we work with marketers is to understand if they have a higher propensity to convert in seasonality, it's imperative to get as many prospects cost-effectively to that page. And so it's really about creating a strategy against 12 months, and hopefully marketers have that information on their websites, and they know when they will have a higher propensity to convert so that they can align their budgets correctly.
And another question that came in kind of maybe on the opposite side of this is, considering if there is a down season, any thoughts or examples on how performance display can mitigate a down season?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is something we have seen pretty consistently, is that when marketers are faced with the down season, it becomes a very strategic question of, what channels are they going to use to offset that down season, or to reset the key performance indicators or their goals based on that seasonality. Whether it's a retail client or a travel client, many clients also face these challenges. And a good example of cost per acquisition would be if there's a down season and search does not perform as well as it does, and we can see that, is there an opportunity for us to leverage a cost per acquisition tactic so that we can make up the sales or the leads that potentially would not have been there? And many clients use this as such because it is so important, frankly, to mitigate the lows of advertising and everything that is possible with respect to driving performance and doing it cost effectively, especially during a down season, is so important in this day and age.
Excellent. Thanks so much for that. And question here, if you can just kind of actually clarify a little bit and talk a little bit about the difference between remarketing and retargeting.
Got it. Also a very good question. So when we talk about remarketing, primarily what we're talking about is using a network through Google, which is really remarketing through search or through the Google network, so that if somebody searched for the marketer's product or services, can they actually target a display ad appropriately based on that search query? This is a very important thing. If people don't understand about remarketing, I certainly encourage you to look at Google and its remarketing program, because it really has made the difference in several client cases. Retargeting is a little bit more holistic in nature, which is it's platform agnostic is probably the best term, which is it's using exchanges and to frankly drive targeted display ads through your conversion page. So if somebody found your site, was going to go to your conversion page but did not convert, people use retargeting to actually serve a display ad against that individual to try and attract that conversion event again. So the terms are obviously similar in nature, but they are somewhat different. So when you are looking at your plans, it is very important to understand the difference between remarketing and retargeting.
And just another question about something that you talked about earlier when you kind of gave an overview of CPA targeting. But was wondering if maybe you could just explain a little bit more about how that's connected to targeting and buying.
Yeah, good question. And so at Quantcast, the way that we define CPA, or cost per acquisition targeting, is really about understanding who the marketer's audience is. And this goes back to the data that we see here at Quantcast, is we actually can create models that actually will target the appropriate people for a product or a service. And one of the things based on that model is then we at Quantcast can go through the real-time bidding exchanges, which again is what we explained in the last session, so that we can effectively not only target but then buy display ads for them. And with the goal being that they drive to an acquisition. And that acquisition can be anything. It can be an email sign-up, it can be a sale, it can be whatever the marketer chooses to be for their success. And it's so important at this day and age is to leverage CPA targeting opportunities, because it can make a difference beyond just a performance channel as search could do.
Excellent. And I think we've probably got time for one more. And this one I think is maybe a good way to kind of wrap things up, since we're talking about 2013 and kind of looking forward. So this question is, how much do you see display growing in the future?
Thank you for that question. the answer is we see it growing quite a bit. And I want to reference something that we actually saw in eMarketer not too long ago, which is actually U.S. online display is expected to surpass search in 2015, which I thought was very interesting. And even more specifically is that real-time bidding display ads are just even conservatively projected to be about $5 billion in 2015. So it's a pretty sizable opportunity of growth we see for display. And one of the things that even just through real-time bidding is most likely by 2015, it'll probably be about 27% of the overall display market. So you're talking about significant growth in exchanges, in large part based on all the things I just said is how do marketers drive performance through cost per acquisition, and the real-time exchanges are excellent avenues for this to happen, and so we certainly will see significant growth with display based on that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And again, with that, I think we'll go ahead and wind things up here. Scott, thank you so much for, again, all of the time that you put into getting this together. It was a great presentation, a lot of great feedback coming in from the audience. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
And I would just like to go over a couple of reminders for everyone here. If you've got any additional questions, still keep those going on Twitter. The hashtag for today is #Quantcast, so keep that going there. The recording of today's webcast will be made available to you within about a week of today's live webcast, so please be on the lookout for that. And in closing, I'd like to go ahead and thank again Quantcast, who was our sponsor of today's webcast, and also to ReadyTalk, who provided us with the platform that we did use. And if you'd like to learn more about ReadyTalk and their services, you can visit readytalk.com/AMA. And last but not least, I'd like to thank you, the audience, for your participation and time, and invite you to join us every week for our Thought Leader webcast. That does end our presentation for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a great weekend.